Hello, ladies, and welcome to Reboot TV. This is Tuesday Talks Live. My name is Sheila Kilty. I'm a mind-body transformation coach with a mind-body reboot method. We're joined tonight with two very, very special guests and a whole bunch of our rebooters and friends who've come on because this is our alumni episode. Caroline Wong and Molly Elliott have done the work. They have done their reboot. It is 1 year later. This is their reboot anniversary. And I've known Caroline forever. I've known Molly, it seems like forever. And we all get to be family when we're working on this. But they've been so successful. They've had very different journeys, in some ways similar, some ways very different. And they've been very supportive of each other and emphasize the amount of community there is within the reboot community and how important that is for making success, and that we're not alone trying to do this with some book in some place, that there is a group of people that have each other's backs in this. And it's so transformative, and everybody has a different transformation, means something different for everybody. But I wanted to invite Caroline, Molly on tonight to share their stories about how they got here. Would they do it again? What it's been like being off the accountability side of it and doing maintenance and how that's been. And if they really did have a transformation or not. And what was their transformation? Because it's different for everyone. So without any further ado, Miss Caroline Wong Robbins, I would love to say welcome to you, my very first client ever. Best friend and first client jumped and said, I'm in. And boy, was she, and has done really well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey on the reboot, what some of your highlights have been?
I will never forget a phone call, Sheila, that you and I had last year in March of 2021. I think at that point in time, a few months had passed since we had spoken last. And I called you and I said, how are you? And you said, I'm really busy and I've lost a lot of weight. And I said, tell me all about it. And in particular, please tell me how and what you did, because ever since we've known each other, we've always shared stories about, oh, well, what are we eating these days? And what are we doing these days? And oh, I'm trying out a vegan diet and this and that. And I had been 50 pounds overweight. I have two beautiful young children. And I just kind of held on to my pregnancy weight. And I had really just accepted that that was what my body was going to be like, maybe for the rest of my life. And I was wearing size 14, size extra large, everything. Today I'm wearing a size small dress. And I just was like, I asked you, I was like, how did you do it? And you said, come on, I'll teach you how. And I said, I'm in. Whatever it is, I'm in. And I did not expect, actually, if I think about what I expected at the time, I think that I expected any sort of weight loss program to involve a lot of sort of scarcity, a lot of holding back, a lot of dissatisfaction. And I found out that's like not at all what this program is about. I am so much more satisfied with the way that I eat today than how I ate a year ago. And I had no idea. I just had no idea. There was just so much that I didn't know before the program that I know now, that I just do now. And it actually keeps getting better and better. It just builds on itself.
Well, I'm really glad you did call, because during that time when we hadn't been talking and it was COVID had started, it was like this crazy time and we were all like trying to make do. So during COVID, I had gone back to school and became a health and wellness coach, licensing for that. And I finished up my mindfulness degree. I just finished everything up and put that together into a mind body program, because I'd been on a yo-yo diet my whole life. At my heaviest weight, I say I was a meatball sandwich away from morbidly obese. I was a big girl, severely diabetic and everything. And Caroline has known me at every possible weight and has known how many journeys I had been on. And like, like girlfriends do. They call, what are you doing? I'm vegan. Oh, I'll be vegan too. Let's try that. You know, it's just whatever it is, let's try it together and support each other. But there was something different about what I was doing, and she was all in. Didn't know what it was, but she just trusted me that, okay, I'm in. Here you go. Let's go. I think one of the surprises too, Caroline, was how much there was to learn about how this thing works, our body works.
Yes, I had no idea about insulin. I had no idea about cortisol. And those concepts actually took me a really long time to get.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a stage now where I get it because I've lived it and I feel the effects. Like, it's wild because now I can feel the effect that stress reduction has on my body. I can feel the effect that self-compassion has on my body. I used to be so mean to myself.
Yeah.
I used to really just emotionally beat myself up. And I didn't know any other way. And I thought that that was the only way that I could sort of propel myself into action. But this program also taught me about mindfulness and about compassion. And I still am so satisfied with the food that I eat. And that is a big surprise to me because I had been vegan previously for the purpose of trying to be healthier. And actually, this lifestyle turns out to actually be healthier and is like very, very satisfying. And I love
and has dense nutrition, and it's been affecting how your family eats. You're able to provide dense nutrition and education to your children as well. You're modeling good, healthy behavior. But you had all of those same preconceived notions that we all do through a lifetime of yo-yo dieting. It's the eat less, move more, count your calories. You know, working out with weights meant actually like doing weight and strength things with big weights and everything. And to dial all that back and say it's much smaller than that and it's far more satisfying, and that this isn't a sprint, that it's a marathon that we're trying to do here. This is a life, to switch it into some lifelong thinking rather than where's my cheat day? You know, when can I have a cheat day? That's the first question I always get. It's hysterical. Whenever I tell people, oh, really? I love your program, but when's my cheat day? It's like, there's no cheat day.
It's also the crazy thing that I know now that I didn't know then.
Yeah.
Is the program's actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Caroline's one of those people who made it harder on herself than it needed
I was ready for it to be hard. I was like, okay, this is going to be really hard. I'm going to be really wanting all the time. If I had just relaxed, frankly, if I had just done exactly what you told me to do from the beginning, if I had just done it, it actually would have been way easier. But I found myself, and this was a learning experience too, for me, I found myself kind of pushing at each step.
Rebelling a little.
Yeah. And so that was an interesting thing for me to learn about, you know, and thank goodness I have you on the other end, someone who is compassionate and understanding. And when I said, like, I messed up this way, you would say, well, I've done that 100 times. You know, there was a real, like, you being there to catch me when I would make a mistake, and I made mistakes all along the way.
Well, then you're very human. You get points for being human along the way. But how many pounds have you lost, and have you maintained it?
50 pounds. I am so excited. I started this program at 190 pounds. I am 140 pounds, and I'm just like right there.
And how long have you maintained that?
At several months at this point. Several months. And at this point, it's like it's not hard. It's just normal.
Right. It was hard at first. It was like hard to not be accountable, and what do I do? And I'm going to go try all these crazy things. And it's like, no, I almost had to take her books away. I'm like, stop reading all these other books. But Caroline did it. Despite her inner rebel wanting her not to behave and follow the rules. She wanted to like find a, better way to do it. And that's part of her intellectual curiosity and her intellect and her desire to do more and study more, and that more was better. But the mindfulness is a big part of your journey, really is a very big part of your journey. What would you have done differently? Like you mentioned that you would have gotten on board with and just followed bouncing ball a little bit
Yeah.
more.
I would have just done it. I would have just done what Sheila told me to do. If you do the program, it works, full stop. And, I just like really wanted this or that or that. Like if I just did the program,
Yeah.
the way that Sheila says, it would have just worked faster and that would have been fine. The other thing I would have done is I would have engaged with the group more often and sooner. Because for me, there was this interesting sort of like isolation and loneliness and introversion and shame. And then I'll never forget when I met Molly, because I had been in this habit of lying on my food log because I have this like good girl complex where I wanted to eat off plan, but I wanted to write that I was on plan. And that's what I was doing.
And you wanted to get my approval.
Yeah. Right. Right. And then when I met Molly, I was like, oh my gosh, here is another human who is right where I am in terms of this process. And she is beautiful and she is human. And my compassion for Molly allowed me to have compassion for myself. That was a huge turning point for me in the program.
Caroline went from being a private only session client and I said, I think you need to be in a group. There's someone who's joined that needs someone else to also. You had been a vegan. She was a vegan at the time she started. And I'll let her tell, that part of the story. But when Molly came on board, I knew they would get along. I knew they would be supportive of each other. And segue to Molly. But I met Molly through another client who recommended her and said, I don't know if she's the right person for this, but I knew the two of you and that community that you had, it really did pay off in a big way. So welcome, Molly.
Thanks.
So how much total weight have you lost?
58 pounds.
Unbelievable. And you're only 5'2.5".
Yes, 5'2.5". The half inch is a big deal.
So show us your size 2 Lululemons you got on there, sister.
So
check this out. Woo!
I mean, it's
way to go, girlfriend.
Like this whole area.
The whole area.
This whole area is impressive to me. Yeah, so my journey is a little bit different. Certainly couldn't have done it alone. Couldn't have done it without Sheila. Couldn't have done it without Caroline. She was a huge inspiration to me. I was not somebody that struggled with my weight my whole life. I was athletic. I ran marathons. I raced bikes. I did CrossFit. It's definitely an athletic mindset. But I took an office job where I was tethered to my desk and my phone, and I was a top producer, and the company brought in all kinds of food like pizza and junk food and things I just didn't really have at home and didn't eat. Okay. And I stress ate and I gained a lot of weight. Clearly, if I lost 58 pounds. And
what was your starting weight when you came in?
191. Yeah.
That's a lot for someone on a 5'2.5" frame. That's a lot to carry.
Yeah. And as you can see, I'm still a muscular person. I am not, yes, people always say, oh my God, you're so tiny. Like I keep hearing that. It's so terrible to hear. No, I'm kidding. It's wonderful to hear. It's lovely to hear, because that's what I was used to most of my life, was being called tiny, right? You're small, you're tiny. And so to feel that again is pretty incredible. But I was really miserable. I was isolated. I was self-soothing with food and with alcohol as well. That just was, providing a lot of unneeded sugar and calories. And you kind of, unlike Caroline, I knew a lot about insulin and cortisol. Like I at one point wanted to be a personal trainer and nutritionist. So I knew a lot. I came into this knowing a lot, and I was vegan at the time as well, and did it for some ethical reasons and for health reasons. The thing that turned, first of all, I felt like I had nothing else. I had tried everything. I had tried B12 shots and fen-phen, and just name a thing that you could try to drop this weight. because what I was trying as well, like going back to like super intense workouts, right? Because came from this, like Caroline and I were talking about marathons and running marathons and training and you know, being athletic. I came from this mindset that work out more, eat less, and it'll happen. And it wasn't working. And it just kept packing on. And especially around my belly, I had never had belly fat in my life. And then I'm 54 years old. I'll be 55 in July.
You're lying.
I'm not. No reason to lie about that. And so what I was hearing from people around me was, oh, it's your age. Just deal with it. Just deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get used to this. You're of a certain age. Yeah. This is what it's like.
Just accept it. Stop making a fuss. You're going to have a tummy.
Except I'm the kind of person that on social media and things, I follow people who are my age, older, that look phenomenal, that are athletic. And I'm like, okay, granted, these people have a lot more money and maybe they're doing some, you know, surgical things and whatever. But I'm like, no, I don't have to accept this. I do not. And when I met Sheila, I really just said, I mean, this is who I am. Fuck it. What do I have to lose? Like, seriously, other than
I'll bleep you out on the recording. Go ahead.
Okay,
go for it.
Sorry. But what do I have else? I mean, I've tried everything. What is it going to hurt me to try one more thing? One more thing. And, you know, Sheila was like, you can still do this program and be a vegan. I'm no longer a vegan. And
I had been a vegan, and that was something
right. And that appealed to me. What else?
She's not getting down on me about being a vegan, and
right. She's not going to try to change me completely. No. And the other thing was that there were no pills, no supplements, no shakes, nothing I had to buy. I was going to eat real food all the time, nothing processed. I still eat nothing processed. Okay. I've kept my weight off. I think I hit my goal weight, which was a couple pounds heavier than I am now, but I think I hit it right around Christmas. So I'm almost at 6 months of keeping it off. I always know what I can eat. I always have healthy food on hand. My pantry is like phenomenally stocked always. I've not felt hungry or hangry. I mean, I haven't felt hangry. I had a friend in Texas that would always say, oh, I can tell you're getting hangry. You're not, you know, your words or you're slurring or whatever. Like, never happened once on the program. Never.
You also had these shakes that you were convinced were like the key to your health. She was obsessed on these shakes.
So I made a protein shake every morning and it was delicious. Yep. It was 1 frozen banana. It was a handful of spinach, almond milk, and a tablespoon of almond butter and a scoop of chocolate protein powder. Now, I just need you to know, I never got rid of those protein powders, except I never have touched them. I literally just got rid of them like a week ago. I was like, this is taking up way too much space in my pantry. This is ridiculous. Bye. Like, and it felt like saying goodbye to an old friend, but they're gone.
We're told that all those smoothies and shakes that are so healthy for you, but part of the reboot is don't drink your calories.
Right. And that's it. It's not to say that the protein powder itself is unhealthy. That is not what I'm suggesting. It was actually healthy protein. It was flavored with stevia. So it wasn't like, it doesn't have tons of carbs or sugar. The point is, I don't drink my food. That is where I'm coming from. I traded my juicer for an air fryer. Okay. I live in a very small condo. I don't have a big kitchen and I got rid of it. When I say I'm no longer vegan, it doesn't mean that I'm consuming tons of red meat and things like that. I do eat animals, but I do it ethically, right? Sustainably, ethically. That's kind of where I come from.
That's how I transitioned as well. I said, if I'm going to eat animals, I'm going to make sure they were treated humanely, that they weren't being force-fed corn or something, that they're 100%. Living the way, you know, nature meant them to live, and that they're not abused.
But I have
that was my you know. line.
Without Caroline, I mean, I was totally against Facebook groups. I actually didn't like Facebook, really pushed back on it. But I said to myself, if you're going to do this, if you're going to do this, you're going to spend the money, you have to do it 100%, or you can't go back and say, this didn't work, right? Like you have to give it your all. And again, an athletic mindset, I'm competitive. This is just who I am. But without Caroline's journey, I don't know how successful I would have been, because she really inspired me, because there was a point, weight did not just fall off of me. Okay.
No.
Some of you, I know, I've seen some of your results on the group, and some people, the weight just really comes off quickly. That was not my journey.
Yeah.
And
Lenora and Pat are the avalanche weight sisters, the two of them. It just flies off of them.
Well,
but Molly, you had a stall. Molly had a stall almost right away. And I looked back on your record to just check your story that I'm trying to remember from a year ago. But you had a 6-week stall where all you lost was a half a pound in 6 weeks of doing absolutely everything perfectly. And there was
that was pissing me off to no end.
Oh, and
because
she'd be like chewing her face off on these group calls, and Caroline would be like, "It's okay, just stick with it. It's okay." We would like talk her down off the wall. I'm doing one more week.
I saw that she was having results, and that was what I was like. Okay, she's been where I've been. We've walked the same path. She's having results, and although some of those sessions really crushed my soul because she was losing and not mine. My metrics weren't moving in the same direction, and it was hard for me because, again,
do you remember the one big change that you made at that time?
I do remember, and it was not doing my own workouts, but moving to the PEMs, and that was huge. And I said it earlier before we were on a whole group, but I have a whiteboard on a dry erase board on my refrigerator, and I write Monday through Sunday on it. And I log what I do activity-wise every single day without fail. And I count my workouts at the end of the week to see how many I've done. So there's 7 days in a week. And I try to walk and do something else every single day. I average 11 to 12 workouts a week. Okay, if you count that. Now, again, some of it's just a 30-minute walk. I'm not saying that doesn't mean I'm spending 5 hours a day working out. But I log everything. Yeah. I log when I do sprints. I log when I do PMs. I log when I do weights. I log when I walk. I log yoga, stretching, and I've added breath work to that, which is a mindfulness exercise. Okay. So when I tell you that I'm averaging, I don't count breath work as an actual workout, but I average 11 to 14 workouts a week, because I'm tracking it all. And I know now, it used to be, I would say, if I don't work out in the morning, it's just not going to happen. Guess what? Yeah. I've ridden my spin bike at 8:00 at night.
Now, taking a step back, during this 6.5 week, 7-week stall that was going on, the old thinking was, if I just work out more, that was the old way. If I do a lot of cardio, I'll break through. It wasn't so much more,
but harder.
Yeah, like I'll really punish myself, get out there, and I'll do some chronic cardio, and it will break through. And if I just do more, and more meaning harder or longer, whatever it is, it's just crank up the cardio kind of picture, the P90X or whatever it is. And I kept saying, that's keeping you in chronic cardio. Let's dial it back. And you would look at the workout section, which has been rewritten since you were there, and it's much more straightforward. But you'd look at the PEMs, the primal essential movements and things, and you'd be like, seriously, Sheila, I'm so far beyond that. What are you doing? This is so boring. And I said, you don't have to stop forever doing these things because I know it feeds your soul to go do a hard workout and feel exhausted and sweaty and salty, and you go on to get home and take a shower like, I worked out. I understand that. I did that for years myself and was always athletic and taught aerobics and everything. It's like I know what that feels like as a dancer and everything, to do that hard long workout. It's part of that feeds your soul. It's part of your enjoyment and part of your joy. But I just said, not for now. You can go back to it, but trust me, these are designed to work together to do exactly what you're trying to do, which is grab your fat stores and get rid of them, because you still had quite a bit of weight on you. You were right at the top where you had just started. And as soon as you switched, you said, fine, I'll get out my whiteboard. And you said, fine, I'll do it.
Well,
what happened over the next few weeks, though?
If somebody had told me that walking, I mean, having been a runner and run marathons and raced and stuff, if someone had told me, oh, walking is going to help you drop weight, I wasn't going to believe that.
Yeah, because it was the calories in, calories out, the Seco model.
It's the level of exertion that for me was the thing. So,
which has nothing to do with weight loss.
Yeah.
So what happened once you switched?
Walking, I went to the PAMs and the weight started to come off.
Like crazy, like an avalanche, like it just came flying off of you all of a sudden. You'd been waiting to do that. And I think your cortisol was so high from the stressful workouts and from not losing weight and trying your hardest to do so. And it's on a stall is one of the hardest, most stressful things to do. But Molly stuck with it and she kept going, started working on the wellness mindset being developed a little bit more, and really dug into the program as written. So in a lot of ways, it was the same kind of path for both Caroline and Molly. It's like, just do what it says to do, and it works together as a whole. But everybody has their objection to that or their preconceived notion of how to lose weight. And it was hard for me to adjust as well. I mean, I've lost, as of this morning, 136.3 pounds since the very, first, my highest weight. Thank you. And in the month of April, I lost 22 pounds just in the month of April. It was just insane. And I was trying out some advanced techniques, which is being turned into an advanced program for anybody who wants to do some extra techniques and things. If you want to come back and do a mastermind or anything like that. I wanted to try it out on me first. And I realized how much I'm not able to work out because I'm in and out of a wheelchair still and everything. And there is still a mindset that says, unless you're able to really work out, you are not ever going to be thin, Sheila. It's just not the way you want to, not going to happen. And that's really embedded. Even though I teach this, it's in you. It's like that 1970s 80s workout model of what it is to lose weight with Jillian Michaels screaming at you to work out for 8 hours in the gym. That's how you lose weight. And to change that, to downshift. And I followed exactly what it was supposed to be. And I had been at the same weight for what, Caroline, like a year I'd been at the same weight for about. And I thought, well, this is just where I am. I'm never going to lose this last 20 pounds, just whatever. I'm losing weight like crazy. Every morning I get on and there's another quarter pound, half pound, whatever that I've lost. And it's pretty amazing. It's like, wow, this really does work. Sometimes it's just even astounding to me. It's like, even with old dogs who've been doing this forever, if you commit yourself to the letter of the law of what it says, it really does work. And for everybody who thinks they're fooling me on their foods or something, it's like, I can see all of it. I've got momdar. I know when someone's BSing me and telling me things, it's okay. Everybody wants to please their coach. Everybody wants to feel good about themselves in a group meeting and report something great. But I don't think I've ever been finger pointy or blamey or, nasty about it, because I've done everything you guys have done. I've done it twice and more intensely. And this is a lifetime. This is not, a short-term thing. This is a long-term thing. So what would you have done differently, Molly, had you approached this again, knowing how well it would work? What would you have done differently?
I don't know. I don't think I would have changed my journey, to be quite honest with you. I think I needed to have it, but I think that if I could give a piece of advice to somebody, is get involved in the community and show up to these talks, because I mean, Caroline said that there was something that, you know, about me that inspired her, and same thing. And I just feel super grateful for the community, as much as I was in a mindset that I can do this on my own kind of thing. You're not alone. You shouldn't feel alone. And know that nothing, like, again, if you want to do a crazy workout at some point, it's not forever that you have to do just PMs and walking and different things, that you can do those things. I don't do a lot of that stuff. I do a ton of yoga and I do hot yoga, but for me, the thing that I've taken away the most is how my mind and body are connected. And I'm so in tune to what I eat and how it makes me feel now, that if I get on the scale and I see I'm up a pound, I don't even have to get on the scale to know. Like, I can feel if my body's got inflammation now, where it wasn't something I could tune into before. And now I can. And I think it's really important. And I'm not obsessed with food. And I realize that there's people in my life that are obsessed with everything that I put in my mouth or what I don't. And I've learned to deal with that as well. Right. And when people ask me about stuff, I just say, no, thank you. You know,
there's a very famous line that I quote from you all the time. And you know which one it is, right?
I can't remember.
Molly, I knew Molly was going to be okay when she was in the middle of her 6.5 weeks and she was sharing what her week was. And people were starting to be able to get together again during this time last year, and vaccinations were happening and people were starting to have parties and get-togethers and everything. Molly's a very social person with a very strong group of friends. And they were used to Molly eating a certain way and drinking a certain way and participating in life a certain way. And she would go to these parties, and the next week she'd be like, oh, I went and they had all of this food and I couldn't have it. And her friends were saying, oh, come on, have one glass. You can have one glass. You can have one sip. You can have one something. And Molly removed herself from a party, like a dinner gathering out of a party, but a group of people getting together, and went to a local little store, a little bodega, and ended up getting some vegetables and things that she could come back and make. And when she saw the junk food that was possible at the party and also at this store, she made the shift from, I can't have this stuff. I can't have wine, and I can't have this, and I can't have that. And she shifted to, I won't put that, like she drew a line in the sand and said, I've made the shift from can't to won't. And you have all heard me quote that 1,000 times over. I always say, get this from Molly Elliott, who said, and I give you full credit, but
I can eat whatever I want and choose not to.
That was the shift. That's when I knew you were going to be okay, because you had just decided, I'm just not going to put that in my body anymore.
Yeah.
I just choose not to treat my body badly. I don't need to cheat and have these cheat foods to feel good about myself. And you decided to find other ways of feeling good about yourself. And when you were talking about working out and how in tune you are, the thing you shared beforehand also was, when you do these stronger workouts, these more intense workouts, you can sense the cortisol shifts. You can sense you can tell that it's not, and it doesn't feel healthy anymore to do those kind of things.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't still enjoy them on some level.
Sure.
It just means that I know that on a weekly basis, I don't need to go to 5 classes at the gym. I do a lot. I mean, I have a weight set here at home. I have barbells and dumbbells. And like I say, mostly the classes I go to now are yoga classes. And I remember thinking, there's no way I can go to a class without having eaten something first. Oh, that makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Now I just go, oh yeah, I better not eat.
It's actually better to work out in a fasted state.
Even in yoga is much better for you if you don't have food in your stomach. So
Molly also didn't believe that she could go all day and not eat. She laughed at me. She's like, yeah, sure, that's going to happen. I said, no, really. Molly has this very kind of drop dead way of talking. It's hysterical. But I said, your hunger is going to go away. She's like, yeah, right. Okay. And it will. I tell everybody, your hunger is going to go away. This intense, insatiable hunger is the sugar beast. And when that goes away, and a lot of vegans are carbitarians. Caroline found that out when I had her make a list of all the foods. When you all start, you fill out this big form and like, tell me about what you eat. And I analyze it. And it was something like 192 or 93 carb grams.
Oh, I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was rice with tofu and sugary sauce. And then it was like flour tortillas with like vegan butter,
margarine and stuff.
I mean, it was like, it was just
and bread,
totally devoid of nutrition.
It was carb with carb sauce with a little sugar on the side. It was like, wow. And then it was constantly eating too. It was constantly. Like always. And every once in a while, some nuts. Like, oh, I'm going to fix it with having some nuts. And I'm like, wow.
All day, every day, constant obsession with food.
And hungry all the time. And when I tell people your hunger will go away when you hit fat adaptation, everybody snickers. Not everybody quite gives me the drop dead responses that I love quoting Molly. Like, yeah, right. But when it did, it was like, my hunger went away. You were right. It just like took off. It's not there. And it's such freedom from being hungry all the time.
Yeah.
And when you start putting those big maple logs on instead of little pine twigs onto your fire inside of you, and you really sense that long burn that you can get and the calmness that comes over you, your ability to stop and be mindful with what you're eating and not try to shovel it. I mean, Caroline, for the longest time, she has a very, very busy job, a demanding job. And she would be walking across the room, finishing and just putting her dishes right into the sink and walking and chewing as she walked away. That was a meal for Caroline. And to slow that down and really get into the mindfulness and let your hormones catch up with you, that, your leptin and ghrelin kind of go, okay, where is she? What's she eating? What's she doing? And really take in the nutrition that's there and take in everything was an eye-opener. But also to be modeling that for her children, and especially her daughter, who will not be sucked into the diet world, who will not be a victim of calories in, calories out, that she is going to teach her daughter how her body works and not be a victim to yo-yo dieting ever in her lifetime is huge. Yeah. I don't see anybody telling your daughter what to do ever on anything. But
True. She has a very specific personality. Yes. But my kids, I mean, I love that my children see the way that I interact with food, and I love that they get to see how I treat myself and my body, for both the girl and the boy. To me, that is like a whole another side effect of the program.
I wasn't keeping little man out of it. I was just thinking of your daughter as part of the woman tribe that we're in right now, and just totally.
And it is specific, right? Like so many, like, I think there are statistics out there that say, and my daughter is 7 years old right now, and there is some statistic that says in the United States, girls become aware of this idea that they should not eat certain foods because of the weight implications at age 6. That's like typical in this country.
And when grade school begins. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's that peer pressure.
That won't be soon.
But that comes from us. That comes from the older generation, informing them by watching how you eat and how you restrict and how you're mean to yourself. But your daughters also, and your son, are getting messages of self-love and not talking badly about yourself and treating yourself well and having compassion for everyone around you. And this is phenomenal. Just I get goosebumps for the generational thought behind it. But if you gals are ready, if you have nothing else to add to what we've been talking about, I'd love to open the floor up to some questions. And Patricia, can you talk and we can hear you? And if you want, if not, if you'd like to, you can type in to the little chat section down below. It says chat. Nope, can't hear you. So you can either text, if you want to, you can text me on my phone and I can read off the question if you have one. But does anyone else in the meanwhile, Irma or Carla or Lenora, do you have any questions for these gals today?
I have one.
Yes, Miss Irma.
You know that I have been having some major health issues. And I have struggled trying to get back into fat adaptation. Okay. Did either one of you experience that?
Were they falling out of fat adaptation, having a hard time to get back in?
Well, mine has been all health related, and I know that. But I think it's still something for the carbaholics that we are naturally. And I poo-pooed you the first time too, Sheila.
There was a lot of eye rolling when I met. I said, don't worry, we'll get rid of that carb addiction. She's, yeah, okay, yeah, all right.
Kind of a Molly response.
She said, you don't know me. You said, you don't know me, Sheila. You're going to change your mind. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, oh, okay.
There is one thing that I experienced, which is that for me, I noticed, and this has changed for me throughout the process. There was a time when I wasn't consuming straight up sugar, but if I ate something that tasted sweet, even if it was artificial sweetener, I noticed that it made me hungry. So there was a time when I was using an electrolyte powder, and it happens
Ultima?
to be, yeah, and it happens to be sweetened. And I found that if I had some of it, I would just like want more and more and more and more and more. Similar with, I was drinking fruit teas. I was drinking tea that was made with like dried fruit, and it would make me hungrier. So what I decided to do was I decided to not have any sweet tasting things, even if they were technically on plan. That all being said, that was months ago, and that strategy worked for me at the time. I cut out anything that tasted sweet because sweet tasting stuff I felt made me hungry.
Well, that is a true thing. That's a chemistry thing. When you do have things that are sweet to your brain, you still remember the amygdala is in charge. He is this lizard dude up there, and if he gets a little bit of sugar, he's like, "Ooh, he gets sugar. Okay, go get some more of that. I like that." Yeah. And it releases a bunch. It starts a chain reaction that ends in you releasing insulin, which spikes all of your cortisol and everything in your fat storage, and all of the carb love comes back because your brain remembers that sweet is good and I like it. I'm releasing dopamine around it. And typically anything that is a dopamine releaser also creates very strong habits up there with heroin and cocaine and everything else. So if there's anything that's habitual in what you do, anything that releases dopamine, like something sweet, even if it's not sugar, it can still hit that dopamine center. So you've brought up a very good point. Even stevia. Yeah, it is a frame of mind around the dopamine release has very little to do with sugar. It has to do with your perception of comfort. So
Molly and I used to take the same melatonin supplement, and I used to crave it because it's got this fake strawberry taste.
Right.
And it was another one of those things that I had to make the connection for myself. And then Sheila taught me this as well. If it tastes sweet, even if it's on plan and allowed, it will actually make me feel hungry. And I didn't want that. So there was a period of time when I cut
plus melatonin supplements don't work. You might as well throw cotton balls
and that's the other piece about that. But it's funny when we were, it just happened in a session, and Molly and I were like, oh, like we think,
I was like, oh, I take it
too. You're like, oh yeah, look at him. I'm like, put away the melatonin, step away from the melatonin.
So Irma, I can say something from my experience. When I would notice hunger, I would think back to what I just ate, and usually I didn't have enough healthy fat in the meal. Okay. Yeah. So all that means is add some, I mean, I'm addicted to avocados. So for me, it's always like, I go to Costco, I get avocados every single week. I mean, there's 6 in the bag. They don't go bad in my place. Right. And I'm just one person. So when I looked back at, if I was like, oh, I'm hungry, maybe too soon or right after a meal, I always looked back and I would either not have enough protein, which was probably where my healthy fat was, or an additional healthy fat. I didn't eat enough. And that was the other thing.
So not enough fatty protein and not enough fat in general, good fats.
Yeah. And sometimes for me, too, just not enough food, actually, not
enough satiety, what it comes down to as well. Yeah.
And that's the other thing about this program that's pretty phenomenal, is that you're not measuring, you're not having to count calories, you know what I mean? Like you can eat.
I haven't counted a thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Neither have I.
Yeah.
But I would look back if I felt hungry and I thought maybe it was stalling my fat adaptation. I would just analyze what was the last thing I ate and why am I feeling this way.
Well, you bring up some good points, because one of the most major differences, and you are a keto alum as well, Irma, right? You had done keto for a long time. Keto allows you these keto allowed things where you can do all these substitutes and swaps, and you can still have your sweet stuff just as long as it has stevia or erythritol or any of those, sweet substitutes or carb substitutes, very heavy on the almond flour and all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't take away the habit of dessert. It doesn't take away the habit of having to have some dopamine inducing something. And that is probably one of the biggest differences between keto and primal, which is what the reboot is. And that is you remove the GPS, the grains, processed foods, and sugars, and eliminate them completely and get back to what food really tastes like, and stop waking up Mr. Amygdala. Let that lizard dude sleep. That dopamine's a real thing. So along those lines, Irma, can you let us know if any of that kind of rings true for you, in that if you think back to what you were eating before you got really hungry, like what was the meal before? Is the level of satiety or fat or any of that, or maybe some sugar-based things that maybe had woken up some carb stuff? Is there anything that rings true for you in those words?
I think probably the stevia, because when I was in fat adaptation, stevia did not taste good. It had an aftertaste that just wasn't right. And I can have iced tea, but I like my stevia in it because I still like my sweet tea. But I've been having stevia or bocha sweet and not real sugar.
Well, bocha sweet can have a dopamine effect. It's very sugar-like to some people. Some people are just very sensitive to it.
Right. And I think I probably am. I really do.
Yeah.
So I watch my eating windows.
Mm-hmm.
I watch my eating window between bed and my last bite of my evening meal. I am on 2 meds every day. I have my coffee with my organic, natural, half and half grass-fed. So I'm trying very hard, but things have changed in my taste with this surgery.
You probably still have a great deal of inflammation with everything that's going on with you that's also fighting against that. But it might be time to get back into your reboot. It might be time to just recommit and be part of the groups again and everything. When you're ready to do that, I think that's that community aspect that Molly's been talking. I think that's going to be a very big part of getting back into the swing of things.
Yes. And seeing everybody is so good.
Isn't this great? What a fun group.
It is. It's a great group. And,
well, the app that we're coming out with has a wonderful non-Facebook based community that's going to be through Hive, Hive. And we're going to have all the aspects that Facebook does without going down the rabbit hole of Facebook and having to deal with it. It'll come right to your phone. So there's a lot of really great aspects of that that's coming up. Carla, I've seen that you have been unmuted for a while. Did you have a question for the ladies?
There were 2 things I wanted to say. One, Molly answered that. I was going to ask, are calories counted? Are there measurements? And she addressed that. But the second thing is, because I am extremely overly picky. And what do you do if I'm assuming there's a meal plan or some kind of food list or something. Mm-hmm. What if I don't like the foods that's quote unquote allowed, and then there are things that can't be eaten? What do I do? How do I compensate?
The lists are so extensive that I have people who are Indian born, from India, and they're vegans and they cook only Indian food. And the question was, I'm not going to be able to eat from your list. And they are. It's a super extensive list of foods. And one of the reasons why working with a coach is different is I help you fine tune what that is for you and how that's going to work with your family and the way you eat. And you've also had gastric bypass surgery, isn't that correct?
Correct.
Now you've lost a great deal of weight already yourself. How much have you lost, Miss Carla?
160.
Woohoo!
You win. You win the day.
Yeah.
I was smiling though when Caroline, I believe, was saying that you began at like 190 or something. That's where I am now. I want to be where you are. I still have a ways to go, but I'm happy to be where I am.
I think it would be worth kind of getting together on our own and going over what your challenges are and taking a look at this new program that's coming up with the app and seeing if you could be part of the pilot program and just try it out and see if this is going to work for you, because I've worked with a lot of people who've had gastric bypass, have had a lot of success with them. And I think you do great in this community as well, because it's all women supporting each other.
Yeah, I can also say that I'm probably the pickiest person about what I put in my body food wise. So if and remember when I started this program, I was still vegan. So I had way more limited options, in my opinion. And the program's evolved since I started. So please keep that in mind. But I had very limited, I think, options from day one.
Because all your protein sources as a vegan are plant-based, therefore have a lot of carbs. So you have to negotiate all of that.
I mean, there's a sauce you can make for every person out there, whether it's a curry sauce or a,
gravy,
any kind of sauce. Yeah. There's a sauce you can put on anything that's going to appeal to you. But I promise that there's going to be something. The list is so long of the foods that you can eat. You will never get bored unless you're just me and you decide to eat kale every day.
Plus, everything tastes good with grass-fed butter. Nothing doesn't taste good.
I know. It's pretty amazing stuff. Yeah.
I could eat chicken wings and broccoli every meal for the rest of my life and be perfectly content.
Well, don't tell Patricia that, because she was like, I'm just sick. Chicken and broccoli. I said, sweetie, nobody told you to eat chicken, broccoli, and every single meal. There is a lot of variety, and a lot of the time that I spend on the sessions with people, because the very first thing you have to figure is, what am I putting in my mouth and how am I going to move? And, all the other things, the sleep, the mindfulness, the everything, it comes into one big picture. It's not just what you put in your mouth, but that's a big part of it. What am I going to eat is like a daily 3 times a day question that you're going to have. And, but we'll figure it out. There's something for everyone. It's extensive. It's not a program of restriction. It's a program of satiety and feeling full and happy and really well fed. And I don't know how old you are. I'm not going to ask. That's your business. But I'm turning 60 next month. And when you're postmenopausal and you're going into some senior years, it's really great to kind of get a hold of all that inflammation and kind of be more in charge of what your health's going to be. And Carla, I super commend you in a big bad way for taking the steps that you needed to take control of your health and taking it seriously and losing that 160 with surgery and everything. That's no small thing. And I'm very impressed with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll talk. We'll get off of here and I'll send you a link and we'll talk.
Great.
From Irma to everybody, the support from this group has been and is very much, and then it went off.
Appreciated.
Appreciated. Okay. Sorry, it went off before I could finish reading. I don't know that everybody can see that. Irma says, Carla, way to go. Yes, absolutely. I think if we added up all the pounds that all of us have lost on there's a small, 6th grade class of people that no longer exist. There's quite a bit of weight that we've all lost, and we're all at different stages and doing different things. And it's one of the best parts of having a group of women, I think, is that we're able to be very supportive of each other and that there are no men on the group, and we can open up to each other about all of our different issues and things going on. So I think that's great. Does anybody else have any other questions of Caroline or Molly or me or Irma or Patricia or anybody? Anything? No? Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight, especially Caroline and Molly. Sure, go for it.
I just want to say that, when I go to yoga, the teachers always say to set an intention during class. And I want to share the intention that I set pretty much every single time without fail. I will just say, and I started this in the beginning of my journey, and I still continue to do it because it really helped me. I basically just say, I heal my body through self-love, compassion, and just, and that's how I heal my body. And I'll just keep saying that over and over, that the self-love, the compassion heals my body. And it's a really big part of this program. And as women, we're so hard on ourselves, and we're brought up that way from the beginning. So it's really important to just love yourself and know that you can do it, and that we're all here to support each other.
Thank you, Molly. That's very profound, because when you have that self-love and compassion, you will make the right decisions for yourself. You'll love yourself enough to do that little extra something that makes your life better, makes your tomorrow better. You're willing to, if you love yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was very profound. What a lovely way to end.
Sure.
And thank you very, very much. I'll be putting this up in the next couple days, and I have some before and after pictures I'll be sharing in the story that comes after this. And thank you so much, really, for joining us. Carla says thank you as well. And for Reboot TV and Tuesday Talks Live, my name is Sheila, Mind Body Reboot Method. We'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye, ladies. Love you.
Bye, guys.